Imagine London, 1962. The scars of the Blitz are still visible on the city's face. A constant, quiet reminder of a war that ended less than 2 decades ago. But this isn't a story about the World War. This is about a different kind of conflict. One fought not in the skies or on the beaches, but in the foggy, gaslit alleyways and bustling markets of the East End. It's a story of survival, of community, and of the ghosts of war that lingered long after the sirens fell silent. Our story begins with Arthur, a man whose youth was stolen by the trenches of the First World War and whose middle age was defined by the air raid sirens of the Second. By 1962, he's a man of routine. He runs a small, unassuming clock repair shop in Whitechapel. The ticking of 100 different timepieces is the soundtrack to his life, each one a tiny heart beating against the silence. Arthur is a man of precision, of gears and springs, a man who believes that anything broken can be fixed. It's a belief he clings to, a fragile shield against the chaos he's witnessed. But some things, once broken, can never be truly mended. The war had left more than just physical rubble. It had left behind a generation of lost boys, now grown men, struggling to find their place in a world that had moved on without them. In the smoky pubs and dimly lit boxing gyms, a new kind of war was brewing. Gangs, led by charismatic but ruthless figures, were carving up the city, vying for control of the docks, the markets, and the shadows. One evening, a young lad named Billy stumbles into Arthur's shop. He's no older than 17, with eyes that hold a fear far beyond his years. Billy's older brother, Reggie, has fallen in with one of these gangs. A simple delivery job went wrong, and now Reggie is a pawn in a dangerous game, caught between rival factions. Billy, desperate and terrified, comes to Arthur not for a repaired watch, but for help. He remembers the stories his father used to tell of Arthur's quiet strength and unwavering loyalty during the Blitz. How he'd pull people from the rubble, a beacon of calm in the storm. Arthur is hesitant. He spent 17 years building a wall of routine around himself, keeping the chaos of the world at bay. The ticking clocks are his peace, his sanctuary. Getting involved means stepping back into the world he fought so hard to escape. It means confronting the very darkness he'd tried to leave behind. He looks at Billy, at the raw hope and desperation in the boy's face, and sees a reflection of his own younger self, a boy forced to become a man too soon. He can't turn him away. Arthur closes his shop, the sign on the door flipping from open to closed. He hangs up his watchmaker's coat and puts on an older, heavier one, a relic from a different time. This decision marks the beginning of a journey back into the labyrinthine streets of his past. The city he navigates now is a different battlefield. The enemy doesn't wear a uniform, and the rules of engagement are written in whispers and threats. Arthur starts by calling on old friends, men he'd served with, men who owed him favors. Men who, like him, understood the unspoken codes of loyalty and honor. There's George, the pub landlord, whose ears pick up every secret whispered over a pint of ale. There's Freddie, the dock worker who knows the rhythm of the Thames and the illicit cargo that flows through it. These aren't soldiers anymore. They're ordinary men who were once forced to be extraordinary. Reluctantly, they agree to help, bound by a camaraderie forged in fire. Their investigation is a delicate dance through a treacherous underworld. They move through the city like ghosts, using their old wartime skills of reconnaissance and quiet observation. They discover that Reggie is being held by a ruthless gang leader known only as the Major, a man who fancies himself a military strategist, treating the streets of London as his personal war zone. The Major is using Reggie as leverage to seize control of a vital supply route from a rival gang. The tension escalates. Arthur realizes that a direct confrontation would be disastrous. The Major has numbers and firepower, but Arthur has something more valuable: knowledge. He knows the city not just as a map, but as a living, breathing entity. He knows the forgotten tunnels beneath the streets, the hidden passages connecting old buildings, the secret histories that the new generation of gangsters has overlooked. These were the same pathways people used to shelter from the bombs, the city's secret lifelines. Arthur devises a plan. It's not a frontal assault, but a maneuver of misdirection and precision, just like fixing the delicate escapement of a grand clock. He and his small band of veterans decide to orchestrate a phantom attack. They use their knowledge of the city's hidden network to create diversions, spread misinformation, and turn the rival gangs against each other, all while the Major believes he is in complete control. The climax takes place on a foggy night at the abandoned Silvertown Munitions Factory, a skeletal ruin from the war. It's a place heavy with history and sorrow. Arthur's plan unfolds perfectly. While the Major's men are drawn away by a cleverly staged false alarm at the docks, Arthur and Freddie slip into the factory through a collapsed sewer tunnel, a route Freddie remembered from his childhood. Inside, they find Reggie guarded by only a handful of men. There's no grand shootout, no Hollywood-style brawl. Instead, Arthur confronts the Major. It's a battle of wills, not of fists. Arthur speaks not with threats, but with a quiet, bone-deep wariness that unnerves the younger man. He talks about the real cost of war, the faces of the friends he lost, the hollowness that follows the victory. He exposes the Major not as a brilliant general, but as a foolish boy playing a dangerous game he doesn't understand. In that moment, the Major's authority crumbles. His men, seeing the facade crack, hesitate. Arthur's words, backed by the silent, imposing presence of his old comrades, carry more weight than any weapon. They rescue Reggie without a single shot being fired. They simply walk out, melting back into the fog-shrouded city from which they came. The next morning, Arthur is back in his shop. The open sign is back on the door. The only evidence of the previous night's events is a new scratch on his old coat and the deep exhaustion in his eyes. Billy arrives, his face etched with gratitude. Reggie is safe at home, scared but with a second chance. There's no grand reward, no celebration. There's just a quiet understanding, a debt repaid. Arthur picks up his loop and turns his attention to a delicate pocket watch on his workbench. As he works, the steady, rhythmic ticking fills the silence. For him, the world is once again contained, orderly, and precise. He had stepped out of his sanctuary to confront the ghosts of the past, not with violence, but with wisdom and courage. He proved that true strength isn't about winning wars, but about mending what is broken, whether it's a clock, a community, or a young man's future. The City of London, still healing, had one less battle to fight, thanks to a quiet watchmaker who remembered the true meaning of peace. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to 1962. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more tales from the pages of history. We'd love to have you with us. See you next time.